You want to know what hell looks like, boy? It ain't fire and brimstone like the priests tell you in their comfortable churches on dry land. Hell is cold. Hell is wet. Hell smells like salt and rot and something else. Something that don't have a name in any language spoken by men who walk under the sun. I'm gonna tell you a story tonight. A true story. The kind that makes old sailors like me wake up screaming 40 years later, clawing at sheets that feel too much like wet canvas. The kind that makes a man check his own reflection every morning, searching for signs that he's still himself. Pour yourself another drink. You're gonna need it. The year was 1803. I was 22 years old, barely old enough to grow a proper beard, serving as junior quartermaster aboard the HMS Providence. She was a beautiful ship, boy. 44 guns, copper-bottomed, fast as sin when the wind was right. But speed don't mean nothing when you're running from something that lives in the spaces between waves. Our captain was a man named Jonathan Aldrich, 6'3", shoulders like an ox, with a voice that could cut through a hurricane. He'd served under Nelson himself at the Battle of Copenhagen, had a scar across his throat from a French saber that should have killed him but didn't. The kind of man who makes you feel safer just by being in the same room. The kind of man who makes you believe that maybe, just maybe, the ocean can be tamed. We were 3 weeks out of Portsmouth, hauling a cargo hold full of gold and religious artifacts, stolen goods from colonial churches, if we're being honest. The Crown called it requisition. God probably had other words for it. Our orders were simple. Deliver the cargo to Gibraltar. Avoid French privateers. Don't ask questions about what we're carrying. Simple. Huh. The first 2 weeks were smooth as silk. Too smooth, the old hands muttered. The sea was giving us a gift, and the sea don't give gifts without expecting payment. I was too young to understand that then. Too stupid to be afraid of calm water. It was the night of October 23rd when everything changed. I remember because it was my birthday. 22 years of breathing air, and I thought I was so damned clever for having survived that long. The sunset that evening was wrong. You know how sometimes the sky turns orange and pink and it's beautiful? This wasn't that. This was red, deep red, like the sky was bleeding out into the ocean. The water looked black underneath it, black and thick like oil. Red sky at night, sailor's delight, someone said. Captain Aldrich stood at the rail, staring at that crimson horizon, and he didn't say nothing. Just stood there, perfectly still, with his hand gripping the wood so tight his knuckles went white. I'd never seen him afraid before. Didn't even know he could be afraid. "Sir?" the first mate asked. His name was Cromwell. Good man. He didn't deserve what happened to him. "Get the men ready," Aldrich said quietly. "Storm's coming." But it wasn't the storm that killed us, boy. It was what the storm brought with it. The tempest hit 2 hours after midnight. I've been through hurricanes that made less noise. The wind didn't howl. It screamed. It screamed like something alive and furious, something that hated the very idea of men daring to float on its surface. Waves tall as church steeples crashed over the bow. The rain fell sideways, each drop hitting like a musket ball. I was below decks, trying to secure cargo that was threatening to break free and punch a hole through the hull. That's when I heard the bell, not our ship's bell. Another bell, distant and hollow, ringing in a rhythm that didn't match the storm. Ring, 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 like a funeral toll. "Ship!" someone screamed from above. "Ship off the port bow!" I scrambled up the ladder, nearly fell back down when the Providence pitched hard to starboard. When I finally got my head above deck, I saw it. There was another ship out there in the darkness, dead in the water. No lights, no movement, just sitting there like a coffin floating upright, somehow perfectly still despite waves that should have torn it to pieces. It was covered, and I mean covered, boy, in something black, not paint, something organic. Algae maybe, or kelp, but wrong. It moved in the lightning flashes, writhing like a million tiny fingers. "What colors does she fly?" Aldrich roared. "No colors, sir. No. Jesus Christ. Sir, there's no one on deck." Captain Aldrich stood there in the rain, water streaming down his face, staring at that ghost ship. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to look away, to run, to jump overboard and take my chances with the sea rather than whatever was on that vessel. "Bring us alongside," Aldrich ordered. "Sir?" Cromwell looked at him like he'd gone mad. "Sir, we can't." "I gave you an order, Mr. Cromwell." "Captain, please, that ship needs help." Aldrich's voice cracked like thunder. "We are Her Majesty's Navy. We do not abandon souls in distress. Bring us alongside." I'll never forget the look in Cromwell's eyes. He knew. Somehow he knew. But you don't disobey a direct order from your captain. Not in His Majesty's Navy. Not even when that order is going to kill you. It took us an hour to get close enough. The storm fought us every foot of the way, like it was trying to push us back, trying to save us from ourselves. When we finally got near enough to throw grappling hooks, I could see the name on her stern, barely visible under all that black growth. Persephone, Greek goddess of the underworld. Should have been a sign, boy. Should have been a big goddamn sign painted in blood. "I'm going over," Aldrich announced. "Sir, let me..." Cromwell started. "You're needed here. I'll take 2 men, 15 minutes. If we're not back, cut the lines and run." He chose 2 volunteers, Miller and Davies. Good sailors, both of them. Young, strong. Davies had a wife waiting for him in Plymouth. Miller was engaged to be married come spring. They went over that rail like they were boarding a prize ship, full of confidence, full of life. I watched them disappear into the darkness of the Persephone's deck. Watched that black growth seem to shift as they stepped on it. The lightning flashed, and for just a second I swear I saw shapes moving below deck. Human shapes. Dozens of them, standing perfectly still in the darkness below. Just standing there, watching. Then the storm swallowed everything in rain and blackness. 15 minutes passed, then 30, then an hour. "Cut the lines," Cromwell finally ordered. "Cut them now." We severed the grappling ropes and the storm immediately pushed us away, like it couldn't wait to put distance between us and that floating tomb. The Persephone vanished into the darkness behind us. The lightning stopped. The rain eased. Within an hour, the storm was gone like it had never been, leaving us alone on a calm black ocean under stars that looked too bright, too sharp, like they were watching us. Captain Aldrich was gone. Miller was gone. Davies was gone. We searched for 3 days, sent up signal flags, fired cannons at intervals, shouted ourselves hoarse into the emptiness. Nothing. Just the sound of our own voices bouncing back off the water, mocking us. On the morning of the 4th day, I was on watch when I saw it. A small boat, a single rowboat moving across the flat water. No oars in the oarlocks, no sail, just drifting. Drifting straight toward us. "Boat!" I screamed. "Boat off the starboard side!" The whole crew rushed to the rail. We could see a figure in the boat. A man, slumped over, not moving. "Is he alive?" Someone whispered. Cromwell grabbed a spyglass, extended it, looked. I watched his face go white. The spyglass fell from his hands and clattered on the deck. "It's him," Cromwell breathed. "Sweet merciful Christ, it's the captain." We hauled that boat alongside, threw down ropes, and Captain Jonathan Aldrich, or the thing wearing his face, climbed up our hull like he wasn't exhausted at all, like he hadn't been missing for 3 days, like he hadn't just rowed across empty ocean with no oars. He stepped onto the deck, water streaming from his uniform. His boots squelched with every step. And he smiled. "God help me, boy," he smiled. It wasn't a big smile, nothing obvious, just a slight upturn of his lips. But it was wrong. It was like watching someone who'd learned to smile from a book, someone who understood the mechanics but not the meaning. His mouth went up at the corners, but his eyes were flat, dead, like shark eyes. "Captain!" Cromwell rushed forward. "Sir, we thought... Where are Miller and Davies? What happened?" Aldrich turned his head to look at Cromwell. Turned it too far. Just a fraction too far, like his neck had 1 extra vertebra. "They didn't make it," he said. His voice was his voice, but there was something underneath it, an echo, like words spoken in a flooded cave. "What was on that ship, sir?" "Nothing," That smile again. Nothing at all, just an abandoned vessel. Very sad. I got turned around in the storm, fell overboard, managed to find the boat. Lucky, really. Lucky. He'd been missing for 3 days in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and he called it lucky. "Sir, your hands," I heard myself say. Everyone looked. Aldrich's hands were pristine. No rope burns, no blisters, no signs that he'd been rowing for survival. The skin was smooth, almost soft, like it had been underwater for a very long time. "Seawater," Aldrich said calmly. "Very healing. Now, gentlemen, I believe we have a cargo to deliver. Mr. Cromwell, set a course for Gibraltar. Full sail. I want to make up for lost time." He walked past us, heading for his cabin. His boots left wet footprints on the dry deck. But boy, here's the thing that made my skin crawl. Those footprints smelled wrong. They didn't smell like seawater. They smelled like stagnant water, like the bottom of a well, like something that had been sitting still and dead for a very, very long time. The door to his cabin closed. We all stood there in silence, looking at each other. "That's the captain," Cromwell finally said. But he said it like he was trying to convince himself. I said. "That's the captain." But even as I said it, I knew it was a lie. The first night was the worst because nothing happened. Aldrich stayed in his cabin. Didn't call for food, didn't call for reports. Just stayed in there, and the only sound was dripping, constant dripping, like he'd brought half the ocean back with him. I tried to sleep. Couldn't. Something felt wrong with the ship now, like the wood itself was holding its breath. Around midnight, I gave up and went on deck for some air. That's when I saw him. Captain Aldrich was standing at the bow, perfectly still, staring out at the black water. Not moving, not swaying with the ship's motion, just standing. I watched him for 5 minutes. He didn't blink, didn't shift his weight, didn't scratch an itch or adjust his coat or do any of the 1,000 tiny movements a living man makes without thinking. "Captain?" I called softly. His head rotated toward me, just his head. His body stayed facing forward. It rotated smooth and slow like a door on well-oiled hinges, and it kept rotating past the point where a neck should stop. I could see his face in profile, then at 3/4, then nearly backward before it finally stopped with his eyes locked on mine. "Yes, quartermaster." That voice, that hollow, echoing voice. Are you well, sir?" The smile. Always that smile. "I'm better than I've ever been. The sea has enlightened me. You should try it sometime. The water. It's so quiet down there, so peaceful. You'd like it. I think you'd like it very much." I'll take your word for it, sir." "Will you?" His head tilted. Too far to the side, like a confused dog, but wrong, all wrong. "That's disappointing. I was hoping you'd see for yourself." He turned back to face the water, and I ran. Didn't walk. Ran back to my hammock and lay there shaking until dawn. The next day, Cromwell called an informal meeting in the hold. 6 of us, the senior officers and crew. We spoke in whispers, constantly looking over our shoulders. "Something's wrong with him," Cromwell said simply. "He's been through trauma," said Peters, the ship's doctor. 3 days alone at sea. It changes a man. "It don't change him into something else," growled McCarthy, the bosun. "I seen him in his cabin, through the keyhole. He was just standing there in the dark, standing in 3 inches of water, just standing there, smiling." "Maybe he sprang a leak," Peters started. "The cabin's dry," I interrupted. "I checked. I mopped that water up myself this morning. By noon it was back. 3 inches of seawater sitting on a dry deck in a sealed cabin. Where's it coming from, Doc? You explain that." No one could. "There's more," said Willis, the navigator. "His charts. I saw them. He's been writing in the log, but it's backward, mirror writing. And the course he's plotting don't make sense. We're supposed to be heading east-southeast for Gibraltar. He's got us going south, deep south, toward the Sargasso Sea, the ship graveyard, the place where vessels go to die, caught in endless mats of floating weed. becalmed forever under a merciless sun. "He's the captain," Cromwell said, but his voice was hollow. "We can't..." "Can't what?" McCarthy demanded. "Can't mutiny? Maybe. But can't survive? That's the other option, Cromwell. I've been on the sea 40 years. I know wrong when I see it. That thing up there ain't human anymore." "That thing is our captain," Cromwell hissed, but even he looked uncertain. "Then prove it," I said. Everyone looked at me. "Prove he's still Captain Aldrich. There's things only he would know. Ask him, test him, and if he fails..." "If he fails?" Cromwell asked. I didn't have an answer for that. What do you do when your captain stops being your captain? What do you do when the man giving orders ain't a man at all? We didn't have long to decide. That night, 3 men vanished. Thompson, Jackson, and young Billy Turner. Gone. We searched the entire ship. Every cabin, every hold, every inch of deck. Nothing. It's impossible to disappear from a ship in the middle of the ocean, boy. Impossible. But they were gone like they'd never existed. Until we found Thompson. He was in the bilge, floating face down in 2 feet of water that shouldn't have been there. We pulled him out, turned him over. His eyes were open. His mouth was open. And water, clean, clear seawater, poured out of him. Poured and poured and poured. More water than a human body could hold. Gallons of it. It pooled on the deck, running away toward the drains, and we all backed away from it because the water was moving wrong. Moving against the pitch of the ship, moving uphill. Peters pressed his ear to Thompson's chest, listened, pulled back with a gasp. "His heart's beating," he whispered. "Then he's alive," someone said with relief. "No." Peters looked sick. "His heart's beating, but he ain't breathing. He ain't breathing at all. His lungs are full of water and his heart's still beating, and he's been like this for hours, and he should be dead." Thompson's eyes moved, focused on us, and he smiled. That smile. We ran. All of us ran like cowards, left Thompson floating in that impossible water. By the time we got up on deck, the sun was rising, and we saw them, Jackson and Billy Turner, standing at the mainmast. Just standing there, dripping, smiling. "Morning, lads," Jackson said cheerfully. His voice had that echo now, that underwater sound. "Beautiful day for sailing, innit?" Billy said nothing, just smiled and smiled and smiled. "Where were you?" Cromwell demanded, trying to keep his voice steady. "We searched." "We were always here," Billy said. His voice was higher than it should be, younger, like he was remembering how Billy sounded instead of actually being Billy. "We never left. We've been here the whole time. We're always here. We'll always be here." "What the hell does that mean?" McCarthy grabbed his knife. All 3 of them, Thompson, who'd somehow walked up from the bilge, Jackson, and Billy, turned their heads in perfect unison to look at the bosun. Turned them too far. Kept turning until they were looking at him from over their own shoulders, and they spoke in unison. "We are crew of the Providence. We will always be crew of the Providence, even when the Providence sleeps at the bottom, even when the Providence dreams in the dark. We'll be there, smiling." Then they walked away, walked below decks, walked into the shadows. And we let them go because what else could we do? That's when Captain Aldrich emerged from his cabin. He looked fresher, somehow. Like he'd had a good night's sleep and a fine meal. His uniform was still wet, still dripping, but his skin had a healthy glow. His eyes were bright, too bright, like there was light behind them instead of in front. "Good morning, gentlemen." His voice boomed across the deck. "Beautiful day. The wind is fair and Gibraltar awaits. All hands to stations. Look lively now." He was acting like nothing was wrong, like 3 men hadn't just stopped being human, like his own skin wasn't glistening with moisture that never dried. Cromwell stepped forward. His hand was on his pistol. "Captain, sir, we need to talk about the men, about what's happening to them." "Happening?" Aldrich smiled. That goddamned smile. "Nothing's happening, Mr. Cromwell. The men are fine. Better than fine. They're improved. Improved. Yes, the sea has blessed them, as it blessed me. You should all feel honored. Soon everyone will be blessed. Soon the whole ship will be one happy family, forever and ever and ever. You're not the captain! I screamed it before I could stop myself. Everyone froze. Aldrich's head slowly rotated toward me. His smile never changed. I'm not? He asked softly. That echo, that terrible echo in his voice, like he was speaking from the bottom of a well. Then who am I, quartermaster? If I'm not Jonathan Aldrich, if I'm not your captain, then what am I? I don't know, I whispered. But you're not him. You're wearing him, like a coat, but you're not him. Silence. The only sound was water dripping from Aldrich's uniform, hitting the deck with soft plip-plip-plip sounds. Then he laughed. It wasn't a human laugh, boy. It was the sound of bubbles rising through deep water. It was the sound of drowned men's last breaths escaping from their mouths. It was the sound of the ocean mocking us for ever thinking we were safe on its surface. You're smarter than you look, the thing wearing Aldrich said. That's good. Intelligence is important. The sea prefers intelligent prey. It makes the hunt more satisfying. His skin rippled. Actually rippled, like water disturbed by a stone. For just a second, I saw underneath, not flesh, not bone, just darkness, moving darkness, black water with things swimming in it, things with too many eyes. Then it snapped back, and he looked like the captain again. But you're right, he continued conversationally. I'm not your captain. Your captain is gone. He fought, you know, harder than the other two. He really didn't want to let go, but eventually, the smile widened, wider than a mouth should go. Everyone drowns eventually. McCarthy roared and charged with his knife. He was fast. He was good. He buried that blade right in Aldrich's chest, right where the heart should be. Water poured out. Just water. Black water. It soaked McCarthy's hand and he screamed and pulled back. His fingers were white, frost white, like he'd plunged his hand in Arctic water. The skin started to split, to crack. Don't be rude, Aldrich said calmly. He reached up and pulled the knife out. The wound closed immediately, sealed itself like water flowing back together. I'm trying to help you all, to improve you, to make you perfect, like me, like them. He gestured toward the stairs where Thompson and the others had vanished. What do you want? Cromwell had his pistol out now, but his hand was shaking. Want? The thing tilted its head. I don't want anything. I am. That's all. I've been in these waters for a very long time, since before your grandfathers were born, since before there were ships at all. I am the calm that drowns. I am the thing that waits in the deep places. And sometimes, it spread its arms. Sometimes I come up to see what you surface dwellers are like, to wear your shapes, to understand you. By killing us, I spat. Killing. It looked genuinely confused. No, not killing. Improving, preserving. Your captain, the real one, he's not dead. He's still here, inside. It tapped its chest where the wound had been. He'll be here forever, perfect, unchanging. Isn't that wonderful? Don't you all want to be perfect? We want you off our ship, Cromwell said, cocking the pistol. Your ship? The thing laughed again. Sailor, this stopped being your ship the moment I stepped aboard. This is my ship now. Every plank, every sail, every man. You just don't know it yet. It turned and walked toward Cromwell. The first mate raised his pistol, aimed at the thing's head, and fired. The sound was deafening in the morning stillness. The ball hit Aldrich square in the forehead. His head snapped back. And then it snapped forward again. The hole in his skull leaked water. Just water. It ran down his face like tears, and he kept walking, kept smiling. That tickled, he said. Cromwell dropped the pistol and ran. We all ran. Down into the hold, into the deepest parts of the ship, away from that thing that wore our captain's face. We huddled there in the darkness, 8 men out of a crew of 40, and listened to the sounds above us. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, walking back and forth across the deck, and singing. That thing was singing in Aldrich's voice, an old sea shanty but wrong. The words were backward. The melody was distorted. And underneath it, I could hear water. Rushing water. Like waves crashing. Like drowning. "We have to kill it," McCarthy whispered. His hand was wrapped in cloth black with frostbite. "We have to burn the ship. Burn it all." "And us with it?" Peters asked. "Better than becoming that." He was right. God help me, he was right. But none of us moved. We just sat there in the dark, listening to that thing sing, listening to it walk, listening to it call out our names one by one in voices that sounded almost right but not quite. "Cromwell. Where are you, Cromwell? Don't you want to be perfect?" "McCarthy. I can help that hand. Come up here. Let me help you." "Quartermaster. Young quartermaster. The sea wants to meet you. She's been waiting so long." Hours passed, maybe days. Time lost meaning down there in the dark. We had no food, no water. The irony wasn't lost on us, dying of thirst surrounded by an ocean, while something that was made of water hunted us from above. Men started to crack. Peters went first, just stood up, whispered, "I'm thirsty," and walked up the stairs. We heard him talking to the thing, heard him laughing. Then nothing. Just the sound of water dripping. Willis went next, then Sanderson, then young Cooper, who was only 17 and cried for his mother before he climbed those stairs. Finally, it was just me, Cromwell, McCarthy, and 2 others, Foster and Green. 5 men in the dark, listening to the ship fill with water. Because it was filling. We could feel it. The Providence was sinking, slowly, so slowly, taking us down to where that thing wanted us. "I have a plan," I whispered. "I know where the captain, the real captain, kept his powder. Enough to blow the hold, enough to take the whole ship down fast." "We'll die," Foster said. "We're dead already," McCarthy replied. "At least this way, we take that thing with us." Cromwell was silent for a long time. Then, "Do it." I crawled through the darkness, feeling my way toward the powder magazine. The ship was listing now, tilting to port. Water was seeping up through the deck boards, cold and black and wrong. It whispered to me as I moved, whispered promises, whispered about the peace of the deep, about the quiet, about the end of struggling. I almost listened, almost let go. But I found the magazine, found the powder kegs, found the captain's pistol, still loaded, still dry, and I knew what I had to do. I set the charges, set them careful, set them right. Enough to split the Providence in 2, enough to send her to the bottom in minutes instead of hours. Then I went back to the others. "It's ready," I said. "We've got maybe 5 minutes after I light it. There's 2 boats left on deck. If we move fast, we won't make it," Cromwell said calmly. "That thing knows. It's waiting." He was right. We could hear it moving above us now, pacing directly over our heads. Listening. Knowing. "Then we fight," McCarthy said. He picked up a belaying pin. "We fight our way to those boats. Some of us might make it. Some of us." It was the best plan we had. I lit the fuse, watched it hiss and spark, and start its slow burn toward the powder. Then we climbed those stairs. Climbed them quiet as death. Reached the deck in the gray light of dawn. The ship was covered in water, covered in it. It pooled everywhere, ran uphill, defied every law of nature. And standing in the middle of it, surrounded by the crew, by what used to be the crew, was the thing wearing Captain Aldrich. They were all there, all 40 men, standing in perfect rows like soldiers on parade. All smiling, all dripping, all wrong. "There you are," the thing said warmly. "I was worried you'd miss the transformation. Look." It gestured to the crew. "Look how perfect they are. No more pain, no more fear, no more mortality. Just peace, forever." "That ain't peace," Cromwell said. "That's damnation." "Is it?" The thing looked genuinely curious. "What's the difference?" "You'll find out soon enough. The ship is sinking. Can you feel it? She's going down. Down to where I live. Down to where you'll all live. Forever. With me," McCarthy charged. Roared like a lion and charged with his belaying pin raised high. He made it 3 steps before the changed crew grabbed him. They didn't hurt him, just held him gently while the thing that wore Aldrich walked over and placed its hand on his forehead. McCarthy screamed like I've never heard a man scream. His eyes went wide, his mouth opened impossibly wide, and water, black water filled with writhing things, poured down his throat. Poured and poured and poured until his belly swelled, until his eyes bulged, until he stopped screaming. His eyes cleared. He looked at us and smiled. That smile. "Run," Cromwell whispered. "Run!" We ran, sprinted across that flooded deck toward the boats. Behind us, I heard them coming. Not running, just walking. Walking steady and calm because they had all the time in the world. Because the ship was sinking. Because there was nowhere to go. Foster went down first, slipped on the wet deck. They were on him in seconds. I didn't look back. Couldn't look back. Green made it to the boat, started cutting the ropes. Then he looked at his hands, really looked at them. They were wet, soaked, and the water wasn't coming off. It was sinking in, into his skin, into his flesh. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no." His skin rippled. He looked at us with terrified eyes as his body betrayed him, as the water that had touched him changed him from the inside out. "Go!" he screamed. "Go without me! Go! Go! Go!" His voice changed mid-scream. Got that echo? That terrible echo. And he smiled. It was just me and Cromwell now. We threw ourselves into the last boat, cut the ropes, dropped into the water and grabbed oars and pulled. Pulled like devils. Pulled like our lives depended on it. Because they did. The Providence loomed above us, listing badly now, water pouring over her rails, and standing at those rails watching us was the entire crew. 41 men, all dripping, all smiling, and in the center, wearing the captain's uniform, was that thing. It raised its hand, not waving goodbye, just raised it, like a conductor before an orchestra. And as one, every man on that ship opened his mouth and sang. It wasn't a song. It was the ocean itself, given voice. It was the sound of drowning, of pressure, of darkness, of things that live where light has never been. It shook the water around us, made waves where there should be none. "Row!" Cromwell screamed. "Row! Damn you!" I rowed. God, how I rowed. My hands blistered, my back screamed, my heart hammered against my ribs like it wanted out. And behind us, the Providence sank. The charges I'd set finally reached the powder. The explosion was muffled, deep, like thunder underwater. The ship's back broke. She went down fast, bow first, sliding into the black water like she was being pulled. And on her deck, still singing, still smiling, they went down with her. The last thing I saw was the thing wearing Captain Aldrich. It stood at the rail as the water closed over it, and it looked right at me, right through me, and I heard its voice in my head, clear as day, though no sound crossed the water. "See you soon, quartermaster. The sea is patient. The sea always gets what it wants, and it wants you." Then they were gone, ship and crew, swallowed by the deep. The singing stopped. The water went flat and calm and black. Just me and Cromwell in a tiny boat in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by silence so complete it hurt to hear it. We didn't talk, couldn't talk. What was there to say? We'd survived, or had we? We floated for 2 days before a merchant vessel found us, took us aboard, fed us, gave us water, asked what happened. Cromwell told them a story about a storm, about the ship going down, about being the only survivors. They believed him. Why wouldn't they? We made it to Gibraltar, gave our reports to the Admiralty, swore out our statements. They declared the Providence lost with all hands, gave us back pay and passage home. Everything went back to normal, except it didn't. Cromwell hung himself 3 months later. They found him in his room with a note that just said, "It's in the water. It's in all the water. There's no escape." I tried to move inland, tried to get as far from the sea as possible. But boy, here's what I learned. You can't escape the ocean. It's in your blood, in your tears, in every drop of liquid that passes your lips. The sea is everywhere, and it remembers. I see them sometimes, in reflections, in mirrors, in windows when it rains. The crew of the Providence, still smiling, still dripping, still waiting. And the worst part, the thing that keeps me awake at night, staring at my own hands in the lamplight. Sometimes I don't recognize my own face. Sometimes, when I'm not paying attention, I see myself smile, and it's just a little too wide, a little too perfect, a little too much like his smile. Sometimes my shadow moves a second too slow. Sometimes I stand still and realize I haven't blinked in 5 minutes. Sometimes I forget to breathe, and when I remember, it feels wrong. Like I'm doing it because I'm supposed to, not because I need to. And sometimes, God forgive me, sometimes, I stand at the water's edge and I hear singing, that terrible, beautiful singing. And I want to walk in, want to sink down, want to join them. Because maybe Cromwell was right. Maybe there is no escape. Maybe that thing didn't let me go. Maybe it kept me, kept a piece of me. Or maybe I brought a piece of it back with me. Maybe we all did. Everyone who ever survived when they shouldn't have. Maybe the ocean marks us, changes us, makes us into something in between. I'll never know for sure. But boy, let me tell you something important. Listen close now. When you look in a mirror tonight, before you go to sleep, check your eyes. Really look at them. Make sure they're still yours. Make sure your reflection blinks when you blink. Make sure your shadow falls where it should. Because if it doesn't, if you see that smile that's just a little too wide, if you hear water dripping where there should be none, if you feel the ocean calling to you from impossible distances, then you'll know what I know. You'll understand what I understand. The sea doesn't let go. The sea never lets go. And somewhere in the darkness, in the crushing depths where light dies and pressure turns bone to paste, the HMS Providence still sails, still moves through waters that don't exist, crewed by men who aren't men anymore, captained by a thing that learned to wear a human face but never quite learned to wear it right. And boy, God help you if you ever see her. God help you if you ever hear that bell ringing through the storm. That funeral bell. Ringing slow, ringing steady. Ring, ring, ring. Because if you do, you'll know what's coming. You'll know what happened to Captain Aldrich, to Miller, to Davies, to Thompson and Jackson and Billy Turner and all the rest. You'll know that some things don't stay dead. Some things come back. But when they do, they come back wrong. I'm going to sleep now, boy. Going to lay down and close these old eyes and pray. Really pray that when I wake up, I'm still me. That the thing looking out through my skull is still the quartermaster from the HMS Providence and not something else. Something that learned to be me. Something that's been practicing for 40 years. But I don't think I am anymore. I don't think I've been me for a very long time. And the worst part, the absolute worst part, I can't remember when I stopped.